Picture a quiet evening settling in. The day's sounds fade, replaced by the comfortable hum of a home, the easy laughter of friends. The walls around you feel solid, a shield against the world outside. You are safe here, protected. It's a feeling we all cherish, the simple security of being in your own space, surrounded by people you care about. But what if that shield was weaker than you ever imagined? What if true terror wasn't a distant threat but a shadow lurking just outside your door, waiting for its chance to break in and dismantle everything you thought you knew about safety? It's the chilling reality of cases like these brutal crimes and home invasions that we confront here on Merc Files. If you're ready to examine the truth behind such horrific events with us, please consider hitting that subscribe button if you haven't already. In December of 2000, in the heartland city of Wichita, Kansas, that terrifying possibility became a brutal reality. What began as part of a week-long crime spree would spiral into a crime of such depravity, such chilling cruelty, that it would forever echo in the annals of American true crime. This is the story of the Wichita Massacre, also known as the Wichita Horror. Trigger warning. This video contains details of extreme violence, including acts of severe sexual violence and degradation, and murder. Viewer discretion is advised. Please watch with care. Our story zeroes in on the night of December 14th, 2000, the devastating culmination of a week-long violent spree that terrorized the Wichita area. In a seemingly ordinary rental home at 12,727 East Birchwood Drive in Wichita, Kansas, 5 vibrant young people were enjoying a typical Friday evening. There was Brad Haker, a director of finance with a local firm, Heather Muller, a local preschool teacher dedicated to her students, Aaron Sander, a teacher who was a former financial analyst and was studying to become a priest, a man of deep faith, Jason Befort, a beloved high school teacher, and his girlfriend, identified in records as Holly G., also a dedicated teacher. They represented the promise of youth and the fabric of the community. Friends gathering, perhaps sharing plans for the upcoming holidays or their futures, enjoying music or conversation in a home they felt safe in, a place of comfort and connection. Little did they grasp that their home had been randomly targeted, not for who they were specifically, but simply for being in the wrong place at the wrong time, presenting an opportunity to individuals seeking to inflict pain and chaos. This wasn't an isolated act of petty theft. It was the calculated decision of individuals already operating with a chilling disregard for human life. Brothers Reginald Carr, 23, and Jonathan Carr, 20, both from Dodge City with lengthy criminal records, had been terrorizing the area for days, their spree marked by increasing violence. Earlier that week, on December 8th, they had already robbed and wounded 23-year-old Andrew Schreiber, an assistant baseball coach. Just 3 days later, on December 11th, they had shot 55-year-old cellist and librarian Anne Walenta 3 times as she tried to escape them, leaving her paralyzed. She would tragically die from her wounds 3 weeks later. Their approach to the Birchwood Drive home under the cover of darkness was stealthy and deliberate, the calm before an unimaginable storm that was about to break their sense of security apart and redefine terror. The moment the Carr brothers forced their way through the door, the night transformed instantly and irreversibly. The sounds of friendship and ease were abruptly replaced by shouts of fear, the chilling commands of the intruders, and the terrifying realization that an unspeakable evil had just invited itself in. The sanctuary of their home was instantly gone, replaced by the cold, hard reality of a trap sprung from the shadows, initiating a prolonged period of suffering that is almost impossible to comprehend. What began with a brute force entry quickly plunged into hours of systematic terror and profound dehumanization. The initial act of home invasion, seemingly for robbery, was merely the door opening to a prolonged nightmare of sadism and control orchestrated by the Carr brothers. They immediately asserted complete dominance over the terrified occupants, their authority enforced through violence and threats. The 5 friends were rounded up, their freedoms stolen as they were bound tightly, their mouths covered to stifle screams that would never be heard by the outside world, leaving them isolated and vulnerable. The psychological torment began instantly. The chilling uncertainty of what would happen next, the dawning horror of realizing the depths of their captors' cruelty, and the dehumanization of being utterly powerless at the hands of individuals who seemed to view them as mere objects for their twisted desires. This wasn't a quick smash and grab. It was an extended period designed with chilling intent to inflict maximum fear and suffering, stripping away every layer of their identity and dignity. The brothers moved through the house collecting valuables, but their true depraved focus was on their captives. They weren't just victims of theft. They were victims of a depraved game fueled by sadism. Among the items discovered was an engagement ring Jason Beaufort intended for Holly G, a poignant and heartbreaking detail found and callously disregarded by their attackers. The perpetrators then engaged in acts of unspeakable violence and profound degradation. The bound friends were subjected to horrific acts of sexual violence. The 2 women were violated repeatedly, and the perpetrators forced the men to participate in forced sexual acts with the women and the women with each other. This was not a crime of passion or desperation for money alone. It was a crime of power, control, and a chilling pleasure in inflicting physical and psychological pain, an act designed to break their spirits entirely. Adding to the twisted nature of their actions, the Carr brothers forced their victims to participate in humiliating acts, further stripping them of their dignity and will, attempting to erase their humanity. They then forced them into Jason Beaufort's truck, driving them to multiple ATM locations across Wichita in the dead of night, forcing them to withdraw money from their own accounts under duress, extending their terror into the public sphere. This chilling detail highlights the calculated nature of their cruelty, extending the terror beyond the confines of the house, dragging their nightmare through the city streets, showcasing an utter lack of empathy or remorse for the suffering they were causing. Each hour that passed deepened the horror, turning a simple Friday night into an indelible mark of trauma. After returning to the house following the events at the soccer complex, in a final act of senseless cruelty that underscores their depravity, they used a golf club found at the property to beat Holly's pet dog, Nikki, to death. The victims were not just robbed of possessions, they were robbed of their sense of safety, their dignity, their bodily autonomy, and ultimately, for most, their lives, all at the hands of individuals who seemed to relish in their complete and terrifying control over the fate of others. As the long hours of terror culminated, stretching from late Friday night into the frigid pre-dawn of Saturday, December 15th, 2000, the perpetrators made a chilling decision: eliminate all witnesses to their monstrous deeds. In the bitter cold, the 5 bound and traumatized friends were forced back into Jason Beaufort's truck and driven away from the suburban street towards a desolate, isolated location on the outskirts of Wichita. Their destination was the closed Stryker soccer complex, a stark and empty expanse under the dark Kansas sky, a place chosen specifically for its isolation, far from any prying eyes or potential help. The air was biting cold, the ground covered in a thin layer of snow, adding another layer of harshness and vulnerability to the already terrifying situation. Upon reaching this grim destination, the 5 friends were ordered out of the vehicle and forced to kneel in the frozen earth, lined up side by side, facing away from their captors. In this gut-wrenching moment, facing the barrel of a gun, the full horror of their fate became starkly, undeniably clear. The perpetrators showed no hesitation, no flicker of conscience or humanity. They opened fire, systematically shooting each person in the back of the head, execution style. 4 vibrant lives, Aaron Sander, Jason Beaufort, Brad Haker, and Heather Muller, filled with potential, dreams, and connections, were extinguished instantly in this horrific, brutal crime. It was an act of unimaginable cruelty, a cold-blooded mass murder designed with chilling precision to leave no survivors to tell the tale. In a final, depraved act at the scene, adding insult to fatal injury, the Carrs even drove Jason Beaufort's truck over their bodies before leaving them for dead in the freezing darkness and driving away. Yet, in a twist of fate that defies belief, one individual, Holly G., though gravely wounded, managed to survive the fusillade. Her survival was nothing short of miraculous. A tiny plastic barrette in her hair is specifically credited with deflecting the bullet just enough to prevent it from being instantly fatal. Left for dead in the freezing darkness among her fallen friends, she possessed an almost unfathomable will to live, a desperate spark of survival. Wounded, bleeding, in shock and naked in the sub-zero temperatures, she had to act. Through immense pain and against all odds, she managed to free herself from her bindings and began a desperate, arduous crawl through the snow for over a mile, seeking help, driven by a primal instinct and the need for justice. Her harrowing journey was a profound testament to human resilience and determination in the face of ultimate horror. It makes you wonder, how does anyone survive such an act, physically and psychologically, and what deep well of strength fuels that will to live and seek justice against impossible odds? Her survival was the first fragile thread of hope in this chilling true crime story, the critical key that would begin to unlock the mystery of the Wichita Massacre and lead to the perpetrator's capture. The frantic 911 call reporting a wounded survivor, naked and injured in the cold, shattered the morning calm of December 15, 2000. Law enforcement responding to the Stryker soccer complex field were met with a scene of unspeakable horror. A brutal mass murder site that shocked and deeply affected even seasoned investigators. The initial response from the Wichita Police Department was a mix of urgent action and profound shock at the level of depravity and cruelty they encountered. This wasn't a typical homicide scene. This was a crime of pure, calculated evil that demanded immediate and comprehensive action across multiple fronts. A massive true crime investigation was launched instantly across the city of Wichita and beyond. The turning point, however, the crucial break in the case, was the discovery and incredible bravery of the sole survivor, Holly G. Despite her physical trauma and deep psychological shock, her courage and ability to recount the horrifying events were immense and invaluable. She provided investigators with crucial eyewitness testimony, describing the 2 attackers, their chilling voices, their cold-blooded actions inside the house and in the field, the forced ATM stops, the specific vehicle used, Jason Beaufort's truck, and the terrifying sequence of events. Piecing together the narrative from her fragmented and traumatized memories was a delicate but absolutely essential process for detectives. Simultaneously, forensic evidence teams meticulously processed the multiple crime scenes related to the spree: the house on Birchwood Drive, the truck left behind, and the field at the soccer complex. Every shell casing, potential fingerprint, blood spatter pattern, or trace of DNA was critical evidence in building the case. Ballistics analysis would later prove a key link, matching bullets from the scene to a specific firearm. Investigators also connected this horrifying atrocity to earlier attacks that week, revealing a pattern of escalating violence. Andrew Schreiber, who was robbed on December 8th, and Anne Walenta, who was shot on December 11th and, before she tragically died weeks later, was able to provide a description, had both identified Reginald Carr from photo lineups presented by police. This powerful convergence of survivor accounts and physical evidence from multiple incidents intensified the hunt for the perpetrators. Police worked tirelessly, around the clock, following every lead generated by the survivors' statements and the physical evidence under immense pressure to end the fear gripping the city. It makes you question, how do investigators emotionally and mentally cope with exposing themselves to such overwhelming evil and suffering day after day? And what specific details, sometimes seemingly small, like those from a survivor's memory, become the most critical puzzle pieces in solving the unthinkable? Their dedicated police work was a race against time in this terrifying Kansas crime, fueled by the compelling eyewitness testimony from the survivors of the entire violent spree, including Holly G's detailed and harrowing account from the massacre itself, and converging forensic evidence collected from the multiple crime scenes. The investigation rapidly focused on identifying and apprehending Reginald and Jonathan Carr. Descriptions from the earlier victims, Andrew Schreiber and Anne Walenta, who had identified Reginald Carr, combined with Holly G's information about two brothers being involved in the massacre, were critical leads that narrowed the suspect pool considerably. The matching of ballistics from the murder scene to a firearm later linked to the Carrs provided undeniable hard evidence of their involvement. Their known criminal records in the Wichita area, indicating a history of violent behavior, also fit the profile of individuals capable of committing such heinous acts. The convergence of all these different pieces of the puzzle, the consistent survivor accounts, the crucial ballistics match, the ATM activity tied to the victims' accounts, and their established criminal history, built an undeniable case pointing directly towards the Carr brothers as the perpetrators. Once the suspects were positively identified through this meticulous police work, authorities meticulously planned their apprehension. Given the extreme violence demonstrated during the massacre and the earlier attacks, the brothers were considered highly dangerous individuals who posed an immediate threat to the public. Just 2 days after the horrific crime at the Birchwood Drive home on December 16, 2000, acting on solid intelligence gathered from the ongoing investigation, law enforcement located and moved swiftly and decisively to arrest Reginald and Jonathan Carr in Wichita. Their capture brought a collective, palpable sigh of relief across the terrified city, effectively ending the immediate reign of terror that had gripped the community since the beginning of their violent spree. While the arrests were swift and successful, the reality of what they had done and the sheer depravity of the crimes were a grim shock that settled over the city. Subsequent questioning confirmed the horrifying truth, their accounts aligning chillingly and consistently with the survivors' statements and the physical evidence. This critical moment in the Wichita crime story was a testament to effective, coordinated police work and interagency cooperation under extreme pressure. It makes you wonder, what twisted motivations or internal darkness drive individuals to commit such depraved acts against seemingly random victims, dismantling lives and security with such cruelty? And how does a community begin to process the grim reality that monsters had walked among them, brought to justice only after causing such unimaginable suffering and loss? The capture marked the beginning of the long, arduous journey through the criminal justice system for these brutal murderers. The horrific crime spree of December 2000, culminating in the Wichita Massacre, left a deep and permanent scar on the city of Wichita that time can diminish, but never truly erase. This wasn't just a brutal crime that occurred in their community, it was a profound violation of a community's fundamental sense of peace and safety. A chilling demonstration that pure evil could shatter the perceived security of an ordinary home in the American heartland. In total, the Carr brothers' week-long spree resulted in 5 tragic deaths, including Anne Walenta, who succumbed to her injuries, and the 4 vibrant young friends from the Birchwood Drive house: Aaron Sander, Jason Beaufort, Brad Haker, and Heather Muller. The loss of these 5 lives remains a profound and enduring source of grief, leaving behind families, friends, and an entire community forever marked by that devastating week. And what of the sole survivor from the house, Holly G? Her story is one of almost unbelievable courage and resilience, a powerful testament to the strength of the human spirit, crawling wounded and naked through the snow for over a mile to raise the alarm and ensure the perpetrators were caught. Yet, the trauma she carries is a heavy, complex burden, a constant painful reminder of the nightmare she endured and the friends she tragically lost. This Kansas crime forced the community to confront the darkest aspects of human nature and grapple with unsettling questions about how such evil can exist and manifest. It fueled intense public debate around the criminal justice system in Kansas, particularly concerning the death penalty, shaping legal discussions and court rulings for years, including the lengthy appeals process that repeatedly brought the pain back to the forefront. The places themselves, the house on Birchwood Drive, the field at the Stryker Soccer Complex, and the prison where the brothers are incarcerated on death row at El Dorado Correctional Facility, hold the heavy weight of history and tragedy. They make you wonder, how does a community truly begin the long and arduous process of healing from such a devastating, senseless act of violence that targeted its own? And in the face of such profound horror and loss, where do we, as individuals and as a society, find the strength to carry on, to honour the memory of those taken too soon, to seek and uphold justice, and to find some semblance of peace? The true crime story of the Wichita Massacre is a chilling, emotional reminder of life's fragility, the depths of human cruelty, the incredible capacity for survival, and the enduring, often difficult, fight for accountability within the legal system. The Wichita Massacre remains one of the most shocking and brutal true crime cases in Kansas history. It's a story of evil, survival, and the long road towards justice. By remembering these events, we honour the victims and acknowledge the resilience of those who survived. This case is a stark reminder of the dark corners that exist in the world. If you are gripped by this story and want to understand more about complex and chilling true crime cases, then you belong here on Merc Files. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss our future investigations. What aspect of the Wichita Massacre did you find most unsettling? Share your thoughts respectfully in the comments below. Liking this video helps us bring more true crime stories to light. Stay curious, stay safe,